We will cover how George Hunter White built a CIA-run brothel at 225 Chestnut Street. We will show what the CIA's own 1963 internal review concluded about the program's results. And we will ask why Richard Helms destroyed every file the day he left office.
The CIA set up brothels to drug strangers. Nobody was charged. In 1955, the CIA rented an apartment in San Francisco and called it research. They installed two-way mirrors, paid prostitutes to bring in strangers, and dosed them with LSD. If the results were useless, and the CIA said they were, why destroy every file? You are a stranger walking home in San Francisco on a cold night in 1955. A woman at the bar offered to take you somewhere private, and you said yes. You don't know her name. You don't know the address she's taking you to. You also don't know your drink was dosed with LSD 20 minutes ago. In April 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles authorized a program called Project MK-Ultra. The Cold War had convinced American intelligence that the Soviets had a truth drug. They didn't, but the CIA believed they did, and that was enough. The man assigned to close the gap was Sidney Gottlieb, a CIA staff chemist. Gottlieb had authority over human subjects across the United States and beyond. His superiors, Richard Helms, Allen Dulles, preferred not to know the specifics. One colleague later described Gottlieb as having a license to kill, and meant it literally. Gottlieb ran 149 separate sub-projects under MK-Ultra simultaneously across the country. Most used volunteers. Some used hospital patients. Some used people who had no idea. Gottlieb believed laboratory conditions were useless. He wanted real-world chaos. He found it in Sub-Project 42, which the CIA named Operation Midnight Climax. To run it, Gottlieb recruited George Hunter White, a federal narcotics agent. White had been dosing people with drugs in interrogation since World War II. He operated under a CIA alias, Morgan Hall. In 1955, White found an apartment at 225 Chestnut Street in San Francisco's Telegraph Hill. He had one instruction for how it should look: a French whorehouse. White hung Toulouse-Lautrec prints and photographs of can-can dancers on every wall. He added photographs in other styles that had nothing to do with art. White hired a Berkeley engineering student to wire the walls. The student installed microphones in the ceiling and a two-way mirror in the bedroom wall. On the other side of that mirror was a small room with one chair. Every night, George White sat in that chair with a pitcher of martinis. Prostitutes on the CIA's payroll brought clients from nearby bars to the apartment. The men were given drinks already dosed with LSD and observed until the drug took hold. None of them were told what was happening. None of them had agreed. CIA notes from the period record that some men became afraid and violent. Some carried out criminal acts while under the influence: robbery, assault. The CIA was testing whether LSD combined with coerced intimacy could extract intelligence. They were also testing whether the women could be trained as intelligence field assets. The operation later expanded to a second safe house in Greenwich Village, New York. Among the surviving documents is a receipt for a $60.50 telephone call. The attached note describes it as a call made by an addict prostitute under covert observation. The operation ran from 1954 to 1965. White never filed a complaint, neither did anyone else. In 1963, the CIA's own Inspector General reviewed the results of Operation Midnight Climax. He wrote his conclusions in a classified report that was filed, not acted upon. His conclusion: the results of Operation Midnight Climax were of limited usefulness. They had dosed hundreds of people without consent for 9 years. The conclusion was not very useful. The response was 2 more years of operation. No subject was informed. No program was publicly disclosed. No one was stopped. In June 1973, Richard Helms was preparing to leave his position as CIA director. Before he left his office for the last time, he issued a single order: destroy all MK Ultra files. This was not a response to exposure. The New York Times story came 4 years later. This was a man who was leaving and who preferred not to leave things behind. Agents worked for days. Box after box of classified material was destroyed. 7 boxes survived by accident. Mislabeled, they were sent to a retired records facility. A journalist found them 4 years later, buried in a government warehouse. Among those 7 boxes, 1,773 pages about Operation Midnight Climax. Nobody who authorized the program was charged. Nobody who ran it was charged. Sidney Gottlieb, who created MK Ultra and authorized Midnight Climax, died in 1999. He died at home in his sleep. No charges, no trial, no public accounting. The CIA's own review said the results were of limited usefulness. If the results were useless, what exactly were they using? And why destroy the evidence of it? What Operation Midnight Climax leaves behind is not a list of crimes neatly resolved. It leaves a gap, the shape of something that was deliberately removed. The men who were dosed had no idea what had been done to them. They were never contacted. They were never compensated. They were never told. A CIA document from the period includes one sentence about the subjects. It says, "No one knows where they are now or what effects they may have suffered." That sentence was written by the CIA. It was filed. Nobody acted on it. This is what's worth sitting with. Gottlieb operated for 20 years without oversight. Not because oversight didn't exist, because his supervisors chose not to apply it. Helms didn't destroy the files under pressure. He destroyed them on his way out the door. That's the part the official record has never explained. The Inspector General said the results were of limited usefulness in 1963, but the program ran for 2 more years, and the files were destroyed 10 years after that. What the 7 surviving boxes cannot tell us is what the other boxes contained. The pattern: run it, conclude it's not useful, keep running it, then erase it, needs explaining. George Hunter White wrote a letter to Sidney Gottlieb after the program ended. It was the letter of a man looking back on work he considered well done. He wrote, "I toiled wholeheartedly in the vineyards because it was fun, fun, fun." He asked, where else could a man do all of this with the government's blessing? The men he dosed didn't know his name. He knew everything about them. Nobody asked him to stop. Nobody made him answer for any of it. The men in those San Francisco rooms never got to write a letter.